All right, here we go. A little mini episode with just me tonight of the Hardline Sports Talk. Not really an official episode. I just, no episode this week. Weather bad. We were going to record on Wednesday, busy schedules, and the weather was just terrible. So we are going to start, and we're going to stick here with Major League Baseball. And I want to start with Blake Snell because, I understand, a lot of these agents, they have some puppets, right? In every sport, we have these insiders, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL. A lot of these insiders, they play both sides. I know in the NBA a lot, just kind of the team guy, and the agents have control over Shams, and he is, he's putting things out there. If there's news, potential breaking news, he's going on the player side, and Woj is going to be on the team side. And Scott Boras is very close to John Heyman. Okay. And we've known that for a while. And he's done his dirty work at times. He's going on social media, posting things saying, well, this is close, and this guy's great and this guy's not so great, and whatnot, whatever. He's doing his dirty work. He's almost like his puppet at times. I think I like Heyman personally. I do. I think Heyman is entertaining. He's a little loofy and he's good at his job. Other than the judge to the Giants thing, or what was it? Arson judge to the Giants. I mean, he's a good reporter and he's got things first a lot and he's right a lot. But Heyman goes on whatever show he was doing today, I forget what it was, on Wednesday, and he's talking about how, and he's done this a lot. I mean, throughout the last couple of weeks, he's been praising Blake Snell. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand why. And then I realized, oh, right, he does this with Boras clients. He will go above and beyond with Boras clients. He'll report things that might not even be true, and he will boast the Boras client. And Blake Snell, obviously, is a Boras client. He's going all over the place. I don't understand why Blake Snell's not signed. I don't understand it. Just throwing out the issues that I think a lot of teams, and including myself, have with Blake Snell. And I think the major thing here with Snell, he's not durable. Okay, so when we're talking about Blake Snell not getting signed, where teams are not looking to give him that long-term contract, whatever he's looking for. I mean, if he was looking for 8-9 years at $30-something million a year, I mean, I think he's crazy personally. But we're talking about a guy that has had durability issues. He's had issues staying healthy and going deep into games. That's been his biggest thing. He walks a lot of guys, high strikeouts. So, he's pitching into the fifth, maybe the sixth inning. And that's it. At best, he's a six-inning pitcher. You pull up his baseball reference page. I mean, this is as easy as it gets. You look at when he won the Cy Young in 2018, and obviously in his past 2023 season, he wins the Cy Young. Everything else, everything in between that, every season, he hasn't gone over 129 innings. He pitched 128 innings in 2021 and 2022. Obviously, 2020 was shortened. And in 2019, after winning the Cy Young, he only pitched 107 innings and he had a 4.29 ERA. We're talking about a guy that is not durable. We're talking about a guy that led the league in walks in 2023 in a Cy Young Award season. And I know he was great, especially Mayon. He was fantastic. But we're talking about a guy that's going to be 31 years old. There is absolutely no way in hell, when I look at the pitchers coming next offseason, Max Fried, Corbin Burns, Walker Buehler, Shane Bieber, and others, there's no way I look at that free agent class and say, well, you know what? I would rather sign Blake Snell to a big deal. If I can, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait until next season when I can get my pick at one of these guys. And who the hell knows? Maybe Blake Snell's available again next offseason. I don't think that would be a good business decision for him, because if nobody wants him now, why would anybody want him when there's more to choose from next season? Even if he has a big-time year, he's still going to be 32 years old. He's not as young as some of these guys are going to be. He's not going to get that long-term contract. He's 31. He's probably, he should be looking for a 7, 8, 9-year contract. He just won the freaking Cy Young Award in the National League. But he's not getting that. And smart organizations are not going to do that. Now, there's a difference here. There are some teams that I think would make sense. Boston just lost Lucas Giolito. If Boston, wants to save face and, they want to get rid of these rumors that they don't spend money anymore, although I don't think it's a rumor. I think it's clear they don't spend money anymore, and they do not care about winning on the baseball field. In other places, in different countries, they care. Henry, his group, ownership group, they care about winning elsewhere right now, and not with the Red Sox. They lose Giolito. They've been talking, and I'll put that in parentheses, to Jordan Montgomery for a couple of weeks now. Does Jordan Montgomery make sense? I believe he makes. I think Montgomery makes sense there. I don't know where Blake Snell makes sense, but I'll tell you this. If you believe Blake Snell is at least a number 2 starter, and you don't have pitching, you don't have pitching. I don't know what their farm system looks like. I know they got this kid Bello. They're trying to sign him to an extension already. He seems like he could be a frontline starter. We don't know yet, though. But either way, it's tough to develop and produce frontline starting pitching. And while I'll tell you all the reasons why I don't like Blake Snell, one thing I can tell you is there are teams that should take flyers. The Red Sox are not competing this season. I think the Red Sox can sign Blake Snell. Now, again, it might not be the best financial decision, but I think Boston can kind of make it work. You don't have much money on the books. You have a young team, a farm system. You can take this risk. Any long-term contract is a risk. If they sign Jordan Montgomery, it's still a risk. If they sign Corbin Burns next offseason, it's still a risk. They can take the Blake Snell risk. They don't have much money on the books. They're most likely not going to be competing for a postseason spot next season if he was to go down, because we have seen after he wins the Cy Young Award, that next season hasn't been so great. So can they sign him to a 5-6 year contract? I probably would if I was Boston. I look at the Angels, another, poorly run organization. Listen, Boston, I can't say they're poorly run. I mean, they have the most championships in this century. But right now, they're a poorly run team. The Angels are a poorly run franchise, right? Artie Moreno's a terrible owner. They lose Shohei. You got to put asses in the seats, right? Have to. You have Trout, and if Trout's healthy, he might win the MVP in the American League. That's a discussion for another day. He looks really good so far in spring training. But you got to sell some tickets. You got to sell to your fans that you still care. You couldn't sign Ohtani. You would not match the contract that the Blue Jays were willing to do and the Giants were willing to do, and obviously the Dodgers were willing to do that, and they end up signing him. You're not willing to sign that contract. I think for your fan base, you need to sign another big-time player, a star player. I think Blake Snell for the Angels, a bad, poorly run franchise, makes sense with the Angels. You lost your best pitcher and obviously, arguably, your best hitter. But you lost your best pitcher. Go sign a guy that just won the Cy Young in the National League. Also, with the Angels, there might be less pressure. If he goes to the Phillies, if he goes to the Yankees, and I can't even say the Red Sox at this point because, again, like I mentioned, they're not going to be competing this season. But if he goes to one of these teams where there's big-time expectation, he might falter. Look at where he's played. He's played in Tampa. He's played in San Diego. Sure, the Padres had big expectations these past couple of seasons, but by no means is it the same media you'll be dealing with if you're in Philadelphia, New York, Boston, etc. Now, you're going to Los Angeles. You're going to play for the Angels, but we know how much they are talked about in that town and how much people care about them, especially now with Ohtani gone. I mean, nobody's going to give a rat's ass about the Angels, so you're going to a pretty relaxed place, most likely. I think that's a fit where Blake Snell could succeed. I also thought the Giants for the longest time, and I thought all offseason that was a perfect fit. You go play in a pitcher's ballpark, pitch in a pitcher's ballpark. Thought that one made sense the entire offseason. Obviously, they've gone in different directions, and they just signed Matt Chapman, and they seem like they're done, according to their president. But Blake Snell fits in a couple of places. Ultimately, what's going to happen is he's going to sign one of these Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman contracts, to glorified 1 to 2 year contracts with the opt-outs. And again, I don't know if he wants an opt-out next season. Go look at the crop of pitching that's going to be available in free agency next season. So there may be a chance where he doesn't want to become a free agent, after the 2024 season. So very interesting with Blake Snell. Ultimately, I do believe he signs like a 2-3 year contract, 3 years, $100 million, 40 and 40, 35, 30, however you want to split it up. I don't know how they'll do it, Boris will somehow try and make it look good and sell it as something good, but none of these teams seem like they're going to be giving him a long-term contract. None of these teams seem like they even want to bite on a long-term contract whatsoever, and it's going to have to be one of these short-term deals. Over to Montgomery. Montgomery's a weird case because if you read into some of the reports, and again, we'll reference the Scott Boras, John Heyman thing. I'm listening to John Heyman on his podcast a couple of nights ago, and he's referencing that Montgomery was looking for the Aaron Nola contract, which is about 7 years, $172 million. That's a lot of money and a lot of years for Jordan Montgomery. And I like Montgomery, and I trust Montgomery going forward more so than I do Snell. And it's weird. I would give Montgomery more years, obviously at less money because they command, less annually. He would command less annually than Snell would. He doesn't have the 2 Cy Youngs that Blake Snell has. I would trust going forward next 4 or 5 years, Montgomery to be at least more consistent than Blake Snell has been. But I think Montgomery, he's going to have to lower his asking price. I don't see him having to sign one of these 2 to 3 year contracts with the opt-outs. I could see Montgomery getting that 5-6 year contract at $120, $130 million. He locks himself in. I don't know why Texas hasn't called him. I mean, we know they've dealt with the, regional network, whatnot, the Bally Sports incident where, a lot of these teams didn't know where some of their revenue was going to come from in terms of their TV deals. Jordan Montgomery and the Rangers have made too much sense all off season long. We'll see if that gets done. You've heard Boston. I mean, that's been really the favorite for the past couple of weeks now. I would say, again, that makes sense as well. But Texas, you just win the World Series. There seems to be a consensus around a lot of people within the game that they are going to take a little bit of a step back. They are certainly not the favorites to win in the American League. They're not even the favorites to win their own division going into this season. So I think they're going to take a step back. If you're able to add Montgomery, though, we'll bring him back and have the potential. And Mets fans, this is going to sound very similar, this is going to sound familiar. Excuse me. If you can get DeGrom back healthy, and if you could get Scherzer back healthy in the second half and get these guys going and, really build them up for the postseason at that point when they would be coming back, August, July, whenever it is, you have some team, you have some rotation, where you have a Scherzer, we'll call it DeGrom, Eovaldi, Montgomery, Scherzer. I think Scherzer's obviously taking a step back with his age. Those are 4 guys you trust in the postseason, though, to get the job done. That is something I would look forward to if I was a Rangers fan, if you're able to bring Montgomery back. A lot of questions there, though, for sure. They haven't done much adding this offseason. They haven't. And again, their TV situation, you understand it to a degree. But it's funny. I'm actually checking my phone right now just to make sure these guys haven't signed. My luck, I come on here, do a 20, 25-minute spiel about the free agents that haven't signed, and of course, one of them would sign. Nobody has signed yet. And we're at March 6th. We're really getting to the point, and hitters can sign. I mean, you see Cody Bellinger signs last week. He's already hitting in spring training games this year. These pitchers, they're not going to be ready for opening day. If they sign tomorrow, if they sign March 7th, they're not going to be ready for opening day. So that's just something to keep in mind as well with Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. Let's move over to the pitching side of things here. The hitting side of things before we go back to the pitching, because I want to talk about Zach Wheeler getting his extension with the Phillies. JD Martinez, very quickly. I mean, listen, JD Martinez is your typical down year kind of guy. He was almost a 900 OPS with the Dodgers last season, a big time surprise, 30 home runs. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. As a DH on a team that was cutting back so they could sign Ohtani the next offseason, which ended up being obviously this offseason. They got a lot of production out of a guy they probably didn't expect it out of. He had taken a step back with Boston, injuries, age in 2022, and his 2023 season was great. I mean, his OPS almost 100 points higher, more than 100 points higher. He's fantastic. But to think that this guy is going to replicate those numbers in 2024, it does not seem realistic. It just doesn't. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's 36 years old, Going to be 37 in a couple of months. I mean, his OPS is 100 points higher from when it was in 2022. And 2021, he was really good in that season, and then he had to drop off at age 34. He's 36 right now. Listen, he declines $20 million from the Giants. He doesn't want to hit in that ballpark. I can understand that to a degree. But you would think that you have teams lining up to sign him, and you don't. You just don't right now. And again, Martinez is a guy like Bellinger. He's going to come in, sign him March 7th. He'll be there in a couple of days, probably a week before, not even a week, 4 or 5 days before we can get him into spring training action. He's ready to go. He's a veteran. He's a hitter. He's not playing the field. He'll be ready to be your designated hitter right away. So that's not the issue. But you would think you'd have teams lining up to sign him if you're Boris and Martinez when you get offered $20 million from the Giants, who seem like they're competing this season, and you don't go there. So maybe Buster Posey was right. Maybe they have a geography problem. Maybe nobody wants to go play in San Francisco. And we know about the issues in San Francisco, right? The city and whatnot. But I digress. You'd think they have some teams lining up, and they don't. Zach Wheeler signs a contract extension, 3 years, $126 million, the largest average annual value for a contract extension ever given. The Philadelphia Phillies, they're locking their guys up. I mean, they're locking their star players up. They see somebody succeeding, they're doing their job and getting these guys. Listen, Phillies, we've seen it for the past, you can even argue since Harper had signed. They are aggressive and they're willing to spend to win. John Middleton, their owner, has done a fantastic job. Dave Dombrowski has done a nice job with the money he's able to have spent. Maybe he left Boston at the right time to go to Middleton, who's just spending like crazy. They've done a good job. Now, we know how Dombrowski works, right? He's going to, he'll have the success. Maybe he wins you a championship, and it's all worth it if he does. But if he doesn't win you that championship, then you're like, all right, it was fun for those 5, 6, 7 years, however long he's there, but he's most likely going to leave your farm system pretty depleted. Now, we haven't seen that yet. They don't have a great farm system. We haven't seen that yet, though, and he still has time, technically. But you lock up Wheeler. Wheeler would have commanded a lot of money on the open market. I think they probably got a bargain here. I mean, a couple of $1 million worth of a bargain. What does he get on the open market? He probably breaks the $43.3 million Scherzer and Verlander got, right? If he hit the open market, that's what he would say, so whatever that is, 3 times $44 million, let's just say. And I'm terrible at math. So I'm not even going to try and attempt to do that. When at 139, maybe 139, who the hell knows? But he would have gotten $44 million a year on the open market. You give him 42, get a little bit of a bargain. You got a sale. It's a great job by the Philadelphia Phillies. It absolutely is. You want to keep these guys. I think Wheeler, spoiler, I think he's going to win the Cy Young of the National League. He's a guy that takes the ball every 5th day. He can go deep into games. Since he's gotten to Philadelphia, he's been one of the best pitchers in the National League. There's no doubt about it. You had him on a bargain of a 5-year, $118 million deal. You had him on a bargain. Now you don't. Now you're paying him what he's worth. And I don't have a problem with that. The Phillies shouldn't have a problem with that. And obviously Wheeler does not have a problem with that. $42 million a year for Wheeler. I think he would have gotten paid big time. I think he would have gotten paid big time on the open market. He was going to headline an interesting free agent class of pitchers, like I've mentioned multiple times here, of the Max Frieds and the Corbin Burns and Walker Buehler and Shane Biebers of the world. He would have headlined that for sure. And he would have gotten that kind of 3-4 year contract with a high AAV, while those other guys are going to get long-term contracts. But good for Wheeler, good for the Phillies to get that done. I'm excited for baseball, man. I really am. And it's going to be an interesting year. I have this question that I want to pose, and I'm going to save this, but I think Major League Baseball needs a big market team to win. Not only do they need a big market team to win, but they need a team that has spent money to win this season. And I'm going to get to that on other shows as we get closer to the baseball season. One quick thing, Mets, Yankees, a lot of talk about Soto's free agency in a year from now. Well, a little less than a year from now, but you know what I mean. And I'm a Mets fan, okay? And I really like Juan Soto. I mean, I'm a huge Juan Soto fan. And he's playing for the Yankees, and I genuinely, as much as I may dislike the Yankees at times, I look forward to watching Juan Soto's at-bats in spring training as a Yankee. I think I'm fascinated by the Yankees and Juan Soto this season. And I think any Met fan and really any reporter talking about next offseason's potential moves in free agency with Soto and the Mets, I think it's a little weird, and I don't think it's fair. I understand he's going to be one of the youngest star free agents to hit the market. He's going to be 25 years old, 6 years old, whatever it's going to be. And he's going to command $500-600 million possibly, and rightfully so. He's a star. But to talk about the guy's free agency a year ahead, I don't think that's right to the Yankees. I don't think that's right to the fans. I don't think that's right to Juan Soto, and I don't think that's right to the fans of potential teams that want him. I think any Met fan going on social media and tweeting about the fact that he's going to be a Met next season, don't worry, like, you're a loser, bro, okay? He's going to play in the Bronx. He's going to win AL MVP. It's going to be fantastic getting in front of Aaron Judge, the best hitter in baseball, best power hitter in baseball all season long. And he might love it so much. Maybe he does, and I don't think he'll do this, but maybe he does take a discount. Maybe he realizes for the rest of his career, if he wants to be considered one of the greatest of all time, staying in New York in the Bronx is the right decision for him. And if he takes $20 million less, he does. I don't know if the Yankees are going to pursue him hard in the offseason. I think they have a lot of money on the books, and they got to restructure and give essentially Cole a new deal. I don't know what happens there with the Yankees, but I'm just going to say, if you're one of these guys going on social media saying, oh, he's going to be a Met next season, don't worry, chill out, dude. That's not right. Worry about this season. I know Mets fans don't seem like they have a lot to look forward to. I think there is, but we'll see what happens with the season. But Soto, man, he's a Yankee right now. Let them enjoy it. I hope Soto has a fantastic year. I hope he wins AL MVP. I really do. And I think he's going to. But enough of this talk. I mean, I see Buster Only. I wake up to a tweet from Buster Only this morning. He was at Mets Yankees at Port St. Lucie, ESPN, at the game. And he says, one interesting nugget, that I had learned, and I'm not quoting him, just paraphrasing, the Mets are going to go hard after Soto next year. Well, you know what? First of all, obviously, okay, they have a lot of money to spend, and Juan Soto is the best free agent arguably ever, the youngest free agent ever. Other than Ohtani, he's the best to ever hit the market. So obviously they're going to go after him, okay? That's obvious, but not enough to report it now. And what the hell did you hear in spring training of 2024 that they're going to be going after this guy after the 2024 season? Doesn't make much sense to me. So I'll digress there and I'll leave it there. A little 25-minute action here. Just getting things off my chest about this upcoming baseball season. Very excited. Obviously, again, check out all the Hardline Sports Talk, BTO Media stuff on our social medias, in our link tree, on YouTube, everywhere. Make sure we love the support and keep supporting. And thanks a lot for letting me hop on. Talk to you guys next time.